So we start. Okay, so okay, nice. We can see already the list and the headers, and then underneath the list. Nice work. So the style was there, like already there. You just use the style from the CS. Okay, let's see how Ahmed managed to do this. So inside the component, as we can see, it's a functional component. We see that Ahmed assigned team to members. And then inside of the return, he used the fragment. And I see here header. And then what's important for us is the table. And inside the table, of course, the head of the table, it has the photo name role. And then the body has the members. And we see that we used map. We map it through every member item. And we are passing the member, the name here, and the image. The name, what do you, use it as a key. Okay, yeah, nice. Okay, so nice. Yeah. Just one comment I have to add, that whenever you map through items, you need to add a key. So the key, it will be the index of, it can be the index or anything unique. So it can be this index. Otherwise, we have some console like warnings, let's say. Let's try without index. Okay, in the console, we can see already that each child in a list should have a unique key prop. So you have to know this, that React will distinguish the childs with the key that should be unique. Okay? Pretty simple, I like it. So, is there any question? Let's go through it again. How can we improve? Do we think we can improve? Okay, it's nice. You did like assign to the constant here, but we also can still use member directly, so you don't have to assign. But that's nice. And we don't use props here, as we getting the table, the team list from another file. And we are not creating small components. We just like have one component, which is the app here. Any comments? Is it okay, clear? Cool, yeah, good job, I like it, yeah. And yeah, let's try together to maybe convert this one to class instead of function, or maybe first use ES6 function instead of like old way we write functions. Do you remember how we did that last 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Like convert it to like a ES6 function, like arrow function.
Oh yeah, we can assign a name for the function and then just do the arrow.
Okay, let's try it together. So assign, so const app will be equal, it will be maybe an anonymous function, and then like this, and we have to export it. Export app, export default app.
Couldn't you say export default const app?
Yes. So we created a constant, and we exported from this file as default. But we still can like export it like export app.
Why do you have to put the default on?
Because here, if you see in the files, how do I get to my files?
The second one.
Ah, sorry, yeah. Thank you, Tom. And in our index, we are importing as default. So it's not like okay. So from this whole file, how to explain this? Anyone can? James, could you help with the export?
With the alternative default.
Yeah, I mean, she's saying why you have the why we are using default. Why it's not like singular.
And deconstructing. Yeah. Like deconstructing an object.
Like with the spread operator?
Yeah, with the spread operator. So if you say export, and then you don't say, if you say export default, you're just exporting this one component. So then you import whatever the default is. Right? So in this case, if you say export default app, then if you say I want to import from app.js, then you get back app. But if you said export app, you can export multiple things. Maybe you export app and you export header and you export lists. Now there's 3 things. So when you import it, you have to specify which things you're importing.
Because you may have more than one function in one JS, and you can export the default, which is 1, or if you can destructure it, so you can export the 3 functions, for example, and you want to use in another file, you want to use only one, so you don't have to import the whole file for this one. So you import only the destructured one. But in this case, the default is you have only one, and you are exporting all of it, and then you are importing all of it.
Thank you, Ahmed. So here the important thing that what is important in the function, we have an app, constant app. It's the one that we are exporting as default from this function. Imagine we have another constant that we would like to export, let's say const, whatever, like val equal whatever, say value. We can do this export. But here, when you import it in the index, you will import the app because it's a default, but then you have to do construct and say, you specify that you will import the val. Okay? The val. You got it? This one, because it's like exported as a constant, so we have to indicate here with the construct, we are saying we would like to get that value, the val value. But here, because we're importing this one as default, you can name it even like anything else, like main. Sorry. And then here, update main. It will still work. It's the default one. Whatever its name, whatever the name here we export. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
It's the same as like when you have a prop in a function, and you can say, you take the first thing and you rename it. In this case, we rename it main, but it's just the first thing that comes into your function when it's called. Or you can do the function takes an object, and then you can use the keys to name them explicitly.
So in this case, when I'm importing it, if I say import default, I don't have to have the exact name of the function, and this is why I'm putting in this special place that I call default, and it doesn't matter the name.
Yes, it's the default export from that function, so I will import whatever its name it is.
Yeah.
Okay, good job with this one. I think we can try one another example. Maybe it's different implementation. Here what I like is use a table. I mean, nice. I mean, we could also use, maybe if someone else have like different like structure here or solution, we can try it together. So let's say div and then use flex. I mean, if you have no Oshinami worked on it? Or?
No,
Okay.
I follow this.
Anyone else? Please. ReDI, can you send me the link of your sandbox? Yes. Yeah, we'll check it all together.
This is actually what do you ask me if I did it with this?
Yeah.
So I did it exactly.
Oh,
CD
okay.
and
Use exactly to your table?
yeah, I thought
It's fine, yeah.
mostly, so like,
It's fine. Anyone else? Like you told me that.
Actually, CSS was created using tables. That's why we had to implement
no. Is it?
You remember stable?
Well, it's a name. I mean, but yeah. I see it here. Okay, I see. So it's like pushing. Okay. Cool. Then we can go forward. Thank you. If you have questions, please ask them now. If something not clear from the last session, please do ask it.
Yeah, I have a question.
Yes, please.
Like, is it best practice for us to use table
Best practice?
for this kind of?
Usually, if it was me, usually I will like create a div here and like use Flexbox if you know it. Maybe this is like I mean, It depends from the developer, I'm not sure, but I see it's a nice practice to use table, yeah, because it looks like a table with column, and then you put in the image, and then the name, and then student, yes? It depends.
Also just do a list.
Sorry?
I would also just do a list.
Yes, no. Yeah, it depends from the developer. Usually, I'm not sure if you know CSS Grid. Did you go through CSS Grid? So I may also use CSS Grid because I can see it's like a grid of 3 columns, maybe. It depends. Yeah, it depends. Usually I use either Flexbox or Grid most. I don't use table. It depends from the developer. Okay, then let's go to the course then. Okay, we will do like many labs today, so we'll code together, and please help me out. Like maybe I'm not that ready. So, okay, so this is the week 4. Luckily, we started React last week, and today we are checking together the difference between class component and functional component. We just saw that earlier, but go through it. And then the lifecycle methods. So this is the supposed schedule that will be like a recap and homework, like solving it, and then going through what I said now, React components and types, component types and lifecycle methods here. It was supposed to be like after the break, let's see, and then question if you have. So let's go. Last week it was about GSX, right? Was it something like new, like easy to get it? Okay. Okay. Okay, before getting to check components, it's important to know what is dynamic information. So in the homework, let me get back, it will help me. We had the team as a list, and the list is saved in a file here. So it's static list, static information we have. It wasn't dynamic. But in React, we can use dynamic information. By dynamic information, I mean an information that can change. And I will just read through it. So React components will often need dynamic information in order to render. For example, imagine a component that displays the score of a basketball game. The score on the game might change over time, meaning that the score is dynamic. Our component will have to know the score, a piece of dynamic information, in order to render it in a useful way. I have to say that there are 2 ways per component to get the dynamic information, either by props or state, or end state. Besides prop and state, every value used in a component should always stay exactly the same. Okay, I will tell you that besides state and props, we can use the context, I think, API. So let's not talk about it that much or think about it for now. Let's just focus about props and state. So props is the way to communicate between 2 components. So you know that we can send an information from component to the child one. It's using the props. Or a state, which is the information or the state inside the component itself. I'll give you an example. So I'll show you like a dynamic information. Here you can say that we are showing the time. The time is changing, so it's dynamic. And we are saving it in what we call the state here. Don't worry, we'll go through it. I mean, we will understand what's the state exactly. So you see how we have a number that is incrementing here. So of course, not static. It's getting +1 every time. And the current time here. Okay. So this is a component, like a class component. It's called an example. And maybe in JavaScript class, you went through classes. This class is extending from React component. A class have the constructor. This is the way how we write constructor. And in React, we have to initialize, or we write super props to properly initialize or get the props. And this is the way we create state. You know, in the class, we use the state to mean this class state. And the state is an object. Actually, it has a key and value. So getting back, constructor. Inside the constructor, we write super props. And then if we have like a local state, it depends. We have to think before writing the component. We have to say that to ask ourselves if our component will need the state like an internal state or not. Let's say I'm in the example I showed, I have like an incremental like number that is incrementing. So where do I have to save that information? I have to save it inside the component itself. And here we have a render function, and inside the render we are returning our JSX. Could anyone tell me what this like return will like return? So we have a div, each one tag and each two here.
I am feeling this.
Yes. But then we don't know the props here because the props is passed from another component, usually the parent one. And we have to know, okay, how do we pass it? I mean, we'll check that. Here, I have an example. So imagine you have a component. This is a child component. I will pass props like this. So this is a prop, name, and then Ahmed. Okay, getting back here to read through this one. So props, every component has something called props. And the component props is an object. It's like the state, it's an object. It has a key and value. It holds information about that component. It's an information that I will use it in my component. To see the value of it, we have to write like this dot props. This is in the case of class component. Okay, we will try like later in code sandbox and see how it's going. So, regarding state, it's unlike props. A component state is not passed from the outside, it's something internal. Like the component decides at its own. To make a component have state, give the component state property, like here. This property should be declared inside the constructor method, like the way we did. So let's try it together. Okay, nice. I have an example here. So here, ReDI, is it fine or should I zoom in?
If you can zoom in.
Yes, sure, yeah. I was sitting there last time, I couldn't see anything.
Nice.
Okay, make this smaller. Okay, here we have like, in our project, we have index.js, we have styles file, example JSX, and app. I mean, we learned that we write JSX inside JSX file, but here, because there is like a linter, what's it called? It's compiling JS to JSX anyway. So it can be like JSX, like, sorry. Yeah, so don't worry about the extension, it can be like this, it works fine. So let's check the index. In the index, we will have this library, ReactDom, that will render our component, the app. The app is inside the app.jsx. We are importing React. You know that we have to import React in every like file where we use JSX. Forget about these two now. We'll check it later. So now I'm creating a class called app that extends from React component. So it extends component from the React library. And there is no state here, but it is rendering another component. And this component is called example. And I'm passing a prop to that component. This is the prop name, and this is the prop value. So this is the way we write props. So we give it a name, and then equal, and then the value is string here. Is it okay? It's okay. Okay.
So in this case, we're dealing with 3 components, right? This one is child component, example as well.
Yes. So app is a parent component. Yeah. App is a parent here. There's index where we have like React DOM render. You can say this is the most upper like component, like the node. Then we have here app, and app will return a child. So ReactJs is about a hierarchy. Let's find out some example. I mean, website using React? I think, yeah, Facebook is the most easiest one. I'm opening my Facebook now. Please don't look at it. No, it's not nice to open my Facebook, but it's fine. Guys, it's my Facebook. So, if we open Facebook and so many calls. Okay. There's a tool that you can download it from extension that you can use it with Chrome. It's called I think React. I forgot the name, but they changed now. It's like so. And then once you install this component, I mean, we'll check it together later. You will see here the hierarchy of your application. Yes, right. Facebook uses React. Actually, they create. So this is the node, like the first node, like the upper node. I mean, here you will see like nonsenses like name because they are, I'd say that uglifying the names. I mean, when you are in production, you uglify the names of components. And here you see all the childs that are within this component, Anonymous. Anonymous has a child called, they are using the context API, so context, and then they have suspense, and then whatever. And if you would like to debug, let's say we debug this component. This is a component area. Everything you see is a component. And with time, you have to know how to build your architecture. When you look to the design, like the paper or the what's called? Layout, yeah, right? The layout, you have to know how to architecture your UI by yourself. So get back to this example. Let's get this component. So let's say this component. I see here A, I'm not sure, but every component, yeah, he must have props, as you can see. And here they're telling you it's rendered by whom. Some components, they have state. It will show you that they have state. This is props. I'm not sure, maybe because they're using context API, there is no state. No, it should be state somewhere in some component. Let's say profiler. Anyway. So I want to show you this to know that everything is like a tree and there is like childs inside every component. It's like a child. It's like a tree. Okay? Every parent has child has many other childs, and so on. Maybe you will find like a better website that is easier to debug and check. Okay? Back to here. So we have an example component. It has like a prop. We're passing a prop, we said. Let's go get to the example component. It's here. It's also a class. It's called example that extends from React component. We can also write it like this. Deconstructed. So component. So answering your question, React is exported as default from the React library, but component is not by default. So we deconstruct it. And inside of it, we have a state. We created, we have a constructor. We have to use super. And we are creating our own state here, which is called mood. It's not like a dynamic variable. Maybe we can update it if we would like. We will create maybe a function. When we click, we change the mood to whatever, angry or whatever. We can do this later. And here we are rendering the state. This is how we render it. Like I'm feeling, and in GSX, we open curly braces, and they have to use this. This means this class, and then the state of this class. And because it's an object, we are getting the value of the mood, this key. Okay? This is what we see here. I'm feeling decent. What about props? We passed a car as a prop. So here we should have like a car, this props car, and you see Mercedes. We passed like car Mercedes here, and you can find it out here. You got it?
Sorry, where's the mood?
The mood is here.
ReactJs? Okay.
Yes, it's in this state. So, okay, I will write here that this is a state. This is state value, let's say. And I'll say this one is a prop value.
inside of my app component.
You'd like to pass mood to app?
Exactly.
Okay. You can. But because it's like a tree, we are passing data from up to down. And because child is like child of the parent, we can check later how we can do this. But usually this is how the data pass. It's one way. Okay?
So it's difficult to get data from child.
That's why later on in the future we will use like state management, like we use React in our course. So it will manage the state in one place up, and then every component can access to that state.
Okay.
So even the most like down component
Like
can pass the data to upper. Yes.
Okay. So this is the only way.
Yes. Now the data is going like this from up to down.
Okay.
Yeah, okay. Is it clear like this? What we can do is we can console log the value of props here and the state. So we will do console log this dot props dot props. Maybe I will stringify json.stringify, and then we will check our console. So what you see here, that this is the shape of the props. As I told you, it's an object. Now we have only car. We can pass another prop actually. Let's say plane, whatever. Let's say Boeing. And you see that the object has like a new key value, plane, and Boeing. Okay?
Is it displayed twice?
It's rendered twice here somehow. I don't know why it's rendered twice.
Code samples. I mean, if you run
This state, this
VS Code, it will run only once.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know why it's rendered twice. It shouldn't be. It should be once.
Like you can open the page as a separate page, and then you can use the same tool, the React tool. But I think it's going to be more bigger.
You mean, okay. You mean this?
Well, yeah, but not in here. If you open them,
Right.
above the console.
Above the console, yes?
Yeah, you have the page. I don't know where it's.
You mean this? React div too? Yeah, right. Yeah, here we can say like the tree. So we have app. Sorry, I didn't know about this. And we have example. So can we here see the state and everything? And okay, nice. You see that example has props and state. This is easy. Make it easy for us to understand. Okay, let's get okay. Thank you, Ahmed. So this will make it easier for us to understand that we have two props now and one state. In the future, of course, in like more like bigger project, we will have like many components, and we have to debug and check what kind of states or data exists in that component. Okay. So let's get back to the course. But you have question before I can proceed? No? Is it okay? Okay, hopefully. So functional component and class component. Yes, in the world of React, there are two ways of writing React component. We saw that. And one uses function, the other uses class. But recently, functional components are becoming more and more popular. So why is that? Does anybody of you knows why people are nowadays using functional components?
Because before functions, they didn't have a state management or a state, and then they introduced hooks, which makes it, which enable us to add state
okay.
to functions, and functions is actually according to my knowledge, it's faster than class.
Yes.
So that's why everybody's
right.
And it's actually prettier because class is hideous.
Right. Yeah.
Does
Does anybody understand what Ahmed said now? So. Before now we use, I think, React like in version 7. It's not 17 yet, right? 16 point. I'm not sure.
16.8.
Yeah. starting from this version 16.8, it introduced like new features, like it's called hooks. We will talk about them and we'll see them. But before that, if you would like to use state, then automatically that means you have to use class. Okay, guys? If you think your component needs a state inside of it to keep it, you must use class. You cannot do it otherwise. You cannot do it inside function component. But starting from like version like 16.8 of React, which is the current version, you can do that. They introduced like use state and hooks inside the component. You will check that. You will understand that. Because now, maybe in the future, you will like get a job and you will see that people are using classes, maybe like an old project, and you will ask yourself, why you guys don't use like hooks and whatever? Because before last year, like it was like last year they introduced it. If you would like to use state, you need to use class. You must. Okay, I will make it simpler and easier for you. So here I'll make a comparison between both of them. So first thing is about render and JSX. First of all, the clear difference in the syntax, just like in their names, a function component is just plain JavaScript. As you can see here, you remember last time we wrote functions? It's easy. Just create a function like arrow function and have a return JSX inside of it. This is like functional component. It's pretty easy. You import React, you create a function and return JSX. For the class, it's quite different. You have to create mention like the class name. You extend this class from the component that is coming from React library. You open curly braces, and you have a render function inside of it. This is in the case you don't have state. A render, and inside of the render you have the return where you return your JSX. Also, it was a good practice when in this case, because you don't have a state, it's a good practice to use function, even before like React, like new features. It was always a good function because functions are like, as you said, like faster, easy to test, and for me it looks nicer, easier to write.
Everyone uses function.
Yeah.
I
I think
no use.
most of people now if they are using a newer version of React, if your company is using like last version, most people are using function component. And most people are learning hooks and using hooks. Let's check what's hooks in the next slides. Again, the same component that I was showing, but here we wrote it the old way we write function, or the other way. So it's not arrow function. Again, the keyword function, the name of function, and then we are returning the JSX. Here, we are not deconstructing component, but we are extending from React.component. So it's similar to what we saw here. Cool. Do you think it's time to create some components? Yeah, let's do this together. We already have this example. Maybe we can turn it to functional component. Let's not start the example, but start the app JSX. So this one is class. We would like to convert it to functional component. And I need your help, please. So, how can we proceed? Do you remember the first time we created functions, arrow functions 2 weeks ago?
First we delete render.
Okay, nice. Let's delete this one. Go step by step. Yes? Okay, function. Yes.
Name.
Let's give the name. It's called app. Okay. Component always start by capital letter. Okay. This is like a best practice, like component start. I think it doesn't work without capital letter.
It works. It works, but it's
Because it makes confusion with like usual tags, HTML tags.
not work. Everybody will laugh at it.
Yeah, right. So, function app. Nice. It's working. Let's try to be more fancy and use what we learned. So arrow function.
Export. Default.
Yeah, we didn't export it. Yeah, we should export it. But I wonder how it's working. If I reload, it shouldn't work, no? Yes, nice. It's not working. Nice. So we have to export default app. And then it's working again. Nice. Now let's turn it to arrow function.
Remove the function.
Nice. Yes. And what should I do? Const. Okay, so we can a constant that we call app, and we assign it to this arrow function, anonymous function. And nice. We can make it nicer, I guess. But nice. We don't have to mention the return. We don't have any logic before the return, so we can do it like this, or keep it like this way so we can understand what's happening. Nice. Next time we will do this class because it has state. We have to go through the course first to see how to convert it. We get back to the course. So no questions, right? Like it's clear, right? Okay. Passing props. So we saw an example how we are passing props. We passed car here and plane. And we can pass whatever we want. How many props we want, I mean, no. So in this example, we have a component and we are passing a prop called name and the value is Ahmed. And this is how we write it. We get that prop in a function component. Let's look at this one first. So function component, we have an object, prop, and we are returning the value of the name, the name attribute from props. We can deconstruct. Because it's an object, we can deconstruct this attribute name and just return like hello name. We don't have to mention props, and we will try it together. This is for functional. This is for class. We just saw it. We use. Do you know this like deconstruction? Like, does anybody knows what does this mean?
Structure.
Yeah. You saw it in JavaScript course, right? Or no? Yeah, or no?
We did it.
It's ES6, okay. So here, we are deconstructing the name attribute from props, this.props, and we are returning here, same. There's a note here saying that since it's a class, you need to use this to refer to props. And of course, we can use this structuring to get name inside props while utilizing class-based components. Same here, we could use props inside like of the function, but we are using it here. Okay?
So left side, is there two-way?
Yes, two-way. Here we are deconstructing, and here we are just getting the props, and then we are getting the value of this attribute inside of it. Let's do an example like this, okay? So maybe I create a new sandbox, or no. Yeah, we can create a new sandbox, maybe. React. Okay. It's already function here, but we have to create a new a new component where we're gonna pass the props. So let's create new component. So inside source, create file. What should we name it? Let's name it component. So, .jsx, and we are importing React from React. Don't forget. And const, we name it component. It's an arrow function. And we will return, let's say, each one this component. Okay. Now we have to export it. Okay. And in app, we will call it import it, I mean, import component from component. We can specify the extension or not, so we can write like this, or we don't need to resolve it. Let's say here it's not declared. Okay, and here we will return that component. So component. There's two ways, either like single tag, or we can do this, of course. Oops. We can even write it this way. We will have a course about more details about props, maybe states, and we will see some child props. So, but now let's just write it simple, like single, please. And we will pass a prop. You can give me any name of prop. Maybe we can try again. Hobbies. And it will be a list this time. Let's say football and swimming. Okay? How can we read this? We have an app component that is rendering a component. Maybe we don't need app now, but let's keep it. It's returning a div. Inside the div, we have a component. And this we are passing props to this component. We are passing hobbies. And hobbies is a list. As you can see, it's an array that has string values, football and swimming. Now, getting back to component, I will close this one and open the dev tool, React. Yeah, we see that components has already a props that's called hobbies. And in order to get the value of them, we can write props here. And here I will console log props, and check the console. I see here that we have an object, because it's an object that has an attribute called hobbies, and it's an array. I will let's try to show it like in the JSON format. Okay. That's what we have in this props. We have an attribute called hobbies that we pass it as a prop, and it has like an array. Okay? And in order to get this hobbies, because it's a list, we have to map through it. So we can do this. This dot, oh no this here. It's not a class. So props dot hobbies dot, because it's an array, we can map. You can say item or hobby. We will return, maybe it can be like a div, or it's inside each one, it's fine. We can say item, let's say. But actually, you would like to have some space, so it will be separate. Okay. Let's see what we have in the console now. In the UI, yeah. Oops. This, oh, my hobbies is better. My hobbies are. Is hobbies with IE or? IE, right? Take this, right? Yeah. Okay, let's keep it like, okay. Let's keep it consistent, guys. And here also should be like hobbies. Yeah. The hobbies are football, maybe swimming, okay? This is one way, like we just map through them, like get the attributes like from the props, or we can deconstruct from here. We can say, please get me the hobbies attribute, and then I can use it as a value. Okay, it should work.
Stringifying props.
Ah, yeah, sure. Thank you, guys. Is it clear, Khalil? Because you asked what's the difference. Okay. Okay, I'll write it down here the old way, or the way it was. It's down here. I will comment on it. It was like this. So I'm getting the whole object, props, and then I'm mapping through props hobbies, and here it was props, right? So look here. I'm getting all the props. It's an object. And this object has attributes, keys, values. One of them is hobbies. But this way, we can also deconstruct. I would only get from that object, I would like to get the hobbies attribute. I'm just specifying. Maybe we can have another, like some other props. Let's say again, car. And again, same example. Let's change now. Let's write toujours. And here in the console, we will see, here because I'm doing console log for the hobbies, but again, we can do for car. So here, I'm getting from that object, getting hobbies and and the car. Or the other way is getting props, this way, and here props. This is how it looks like. So we have an object that has first key is hobbies with values in array, and second one is car. Okay?
Can you say again the export from from component?
You mean
app or from app to?
This is the parent. App is the parent. We will see it here. So here you can see that app is the parent and component is the child. And the data passes from app to component this way. You can see it here that we are passing some information from this level, the app level, to the component level. Okay? App have no state, no props. And component has two props, the car and the list of hobbies.
Since our hobbies is not so big, couldn't we use spread operator in order to destructure?
Destructure? Okay. You mean yeah. We can we can do this car and it's not spread, the rest here. So the rest will be actually only the. So if you do rest to check the value of rest. Rest has, the rest is, everything rests from that object. Because the object has car and hobbies, we deconstructed cars.
No, I mean instead of map.
Instead of map?
Spread operator.
Why?
I'm just wondering, is it possible or not? Instead of map, use a spread operator?
No, we need to map. It's an array and we need to map through it. Okay. So the case is not for spreading, it's for mapping from an array. Okay, let's just get back the way it was. So you saw two ways. So it's either deconstruct or using like the props object. So I will remove this one and get back to the UI. Okay, is it clear? Mm-hmm. Moving to the next thing, so handling state. So we talked about props, now it's about state. I told you earlier that handling state was only doable in a class component until the version 16.8, where React introduced hooks. And one of the hooks called useState, we'll check it, we'll see it. that allow us to write stateful functional component. Before it wasn't possible to write stateless function component, but now it's possible. And here we have an example in the next slides, an example of a component that has a counter that increments by 1. And this is a syntax. So we have a component, function component. This is the way we write our state. So react.useState. We initialize the state here, and we are deconstructing an array. This array first argument is the state, we name it count, and the second argument is the function that sets the state. Okay, we will try an example later, and here we are returning the count. And we have a button. Whenever we click on this button, we are incrementing by 1. Here's the same example using the classes. I think you should be familiar now more with the classes because we saw the way how we wrote state, and then I will get back to the way we handled it with the function component. So we have a class, we have a constructor, you know that, and we have to write the super function, we call it, and then this is the way we initialize state. Because our component has a state, the count, we have to save it inside the component. We have to think this way. We have a value or information, we don't know where to save it, so we will save it in our component. And it's dynamic, it will change. When we click on the button, it will change, so we have to save it somewhere. Initially, it's 0, and then we are rendering here a div that has like a paragraph that has a count. The count shows us the count value. It says count value times, and we have a button. Whenever we click on this button, these functions we will check them in next session, of course. When we click, but you remember from JavaScript course that we have on-click button, on-click function attributes with the lowercase c. You remember of this? On-click. Here we're passing a function that says, please update the state. How we do this? It's a function. It's using this.setState, and every time we are assigning a new value to the attribute count. So whenever we are calling this state, we are adding +1 to the old value. Okay? Okay, let's try to write this together, okay? So in the same example here, we had class component. Okay, I will use this app here to create that same component. Okay? So I need your help to write the state. How can I write a state, like in a class component? So I will turn this to class first. So explore, I'll say class app extends react.component, and you know that we have to have a render function, and inside of it we will have a return. Okay? Let's test it. Let's say hi. Oh, we have to export it, sorry. Export default the app. We can see the hi. Okay. Just remove it. We are returning nothing now. We would like to have a button that whenever we click on it, we are incrementing by 1 the count. So first thing, let's create the state. I need your help because it's been a long time I didn't create class component. I was using functions. Constructor. Okay, thank you. Constructor. We open parentheses. It's a function. And as an argument, we are passing props. Just learn this by heart. We have to do super. That's not super props. Okay, everything should work smoothly. Why is the constructor useless? Useless, because we are not using anything else inside of it. Yeah. Now, how can we create a state?
This state.
Yes. So always remember that state is an object, and we assign it to state. So this class has a state. Dot state has a state. We will assign to it an object. You see, it's an object. This object will have a key that we will name it whatever we want, but for us, make it easy, count, and we have to initialize it.
0.
Nice. Now, if we check the React DevTools, you will find out that we have an app, and it has a state with count initialized to 0, which is good. Okay. Now we move to JSX part. We would like to create not like a working UI, so it's a P paragraph or div, whatever. Okay. I'm not sure why it's not helping me. Okay. Let's say div or each one, it make it easier. Yeah. And what was the example saying? Count and then number of times. So count. I'll make it each 3, so it's smaller a bit. Count, and then I'm getting the value of the state. You will help me to get it. Times. How can I get the value of the state?
This was the state.
So I'm referring to this class. I'm saying this. From this class, please give me the state object. And from the state object, give me the count attribute. I'm happy it's working. Yes. And now I would like to have a button. Whenever we click on this button, it will increment the state. We didn't see yet how to increment or to update the state. It's stated here in the example, but I'll show it to you. So this function, this .setState, will update our state. We will pass an object to it. An object will have the key and the new value we are assigned to the state. Here it's setting like an inline function. We can write our own function here. We will do it that way. I'll show it to you. So we create a button underneath. Button. It's not helping me to complete. Okay. And the button should be click. Nice. Then you should specify the type of the button, I guess, or we don't have, okay? And we will have a function. You remember in JavaScript, we used to write it like this. But now, actually, you will see that we React, we just write it the camel case way. So on uppercase, on starts by lowercase, and then the next word, it will be like uppercase. And here, it's a JSX. We are passing JavaScript. We are passing a function. And let's say, whenever we click, we will console log clicked. So we have a button. Whenever we click on this button, we should see console log in our console of a string called clicked. So I will hit it. I see some console here, and I see clicked. I click once again, and it's showing me like 2 times. Nice. So it's working. Now we would like to increment the state. I showed you that we have a function called thisSetState. So instead of the console log, you will write this.setState. It's a function. and we pass to it an object, this object will update the state. So we will update in count, and let's say we are assigning 10 to the count. Just whenever we click, it will be 10. Let's try it. Nice. We click again, it should be 10 because we assign again 10. We are not adding, but just assigning 10. Now we would like to increment by 1. So we get the previous value, this dot state dot count, and we are adding 1. Cool. It's working. Any question? Because this is like a function we're passing here, we can assign to a variable. We can write it here. We should write it on top of render. It shouldn't be inside render. We will write, yeah, it should be, let's say, handle, yeah. We give the name, usually handle submit button. That's the convention, like you can write button like this. And here we call from this class, we are getting handle submit button. We are passing it by reference here, so we don't do this. We don't add like the arguments. Yeah, it's a reference. We are reference to this function. Is this clear?
Maybe stay with the render.
Yes. So on top, it's not inside the render. On top of it, like in this space where you are writing constructor, you can create functions that you call them by reference here. You got it? Okay. The way it used to be is like this way, anonymous function.
Without writing const or something?
No. That's in function component we do this, but here no. It used to be like this. But now we assign this value, look, we assign this one, we just copy it, or cut it, Control X, and assign it to a variable, created a variable. That variable should be in this space here, inside the class, before the render, not inside the render. Okay? And here, we refer to that function by saying this, from this class, please give me the handle submit button. More question?
We can also export other functions from other files. Yeah?
From other?
Other files, like GS file.
Because here you're using this dot state, you have to pass the this. So yes, you can from outside maybe creating a function, but you need to pass, you can write it like this. Anonymous function again, but you have to pass this. It's more like advanced. Let's keep it simple. Usually you will write, yes, of course you can get functions from other places, yes. It depends. If you are changing the state inside the function, you have to pass this. But for other operation, like you're doing, I'm not sure, a call, a synchronous call, or another like logic, it's fine, you can call a function. So this is how we write state in a class component. Now let's try to do it for function component. And we should take a break, right? Should we do it now, or we do it for function and we take a break?
Let's take a break.
Yes, thank you. I will stop the... Cool. Now we are converting the class component we said to a function component. Everything looks nice, but this stuff, you know that inside the function component we don't have this. It's not class. I will comment out this one first, and let's see what we have. We should have issues because it doesn't recognize this. So I will reload. Nice, we're having some issues. It's saying cannot read property count of undefined. For the compiler or the IDE, it doesn't know what is this state because this doesn't exist. So I will keep this empty for now, and I will remove this and keep it empty actually for now. Now we have like we cannot have empty there. Yes, right. We could have do this. So we have function button does nothing. Now we have to create a state. Inside the function component, you have to make sure that you're using React version 16.8, or I'm not sure if there's like extra upper version of it for it. Where can I check the libraries? Yeah, yes.
Independence.
Wow, nice.
But isn't it by default?
Sorry.
Latest version.
Yeah, here it's by default.
Okay.
Now this is 16.8. Here, starting from this one, we can use React hooks and stateful function component. So we are good. Actually, there's like 17 coming, but it's a test or beta. So back. So now we can write our state here. The way we do it for functional. Yes, I was about to cheat and look here.
Yeah, then you define an array.
Okay,
Array, you
so
pass to-
we create a constant. Let's have an empty array now.
no, count. Okay.
Yeah.
You state.
So from React library, we will get use state. Okay, guys? Use state function, and you will initialize it with the initial value of our variable. So now we are creating, first argument should be the state count, and the function that will set the state. So we usually, it's like good practice to name it set, start by set, and the same name of it, of the state, set count. Okay? And we initialize to 0. This is how we write it. So to summarize, const, it will be an array, the state, attribute I'm creating, set state. I'm deconstructing this array from react.useState, and here it will be the initial value. Is this clear for all of you?
Yes.
Right? Clear?
I'm just wondering, why are you specifying the React.useState? Do we need here?
Yes.
Right.
Otherwise,
You can destructure it above to the default.
I'm getting this function from the React library. Otherwise, it's undefined. Where am I getting this from? I can, of course, deconstruct it and get it from here, because it's a function from React.
Okay.
I can do this, and it's working, right? Here it's using React.useState.
Sure.
It's up to you. Okay, I will remove this one, or maybe like comment it, so we have it there. Now we have the state. It's initialized to 0. Let's check it. Count, and we already can see it's 0 here. Okay. Now the click functionality button, we'll create on click. It will be a function. And the function, let's create an anonymous one. So it will be set count to count plus 1. So let's try. Okay, what's this doing is whenever I click, I'm calling a function. It's an anonymous function that will set the count, increment the count. It's count plus 1, old value plus 1. Now, because we can like create a variable for this function, oops. Can assign to variable, yes. So here we create const. It's a best practice that we name our function, that if it's an action, we say we are handling that action. So handle, submit, or increment button. We can write button or just abbreviation, whatever you want. I prefer this. And it's equal to this. This is like a shortened like expression. We can write this: return set state count +1. And it's an arrow function. We will copy it and pass it here. No, set count, sorry. Yeah. Okay. So it's clear now, right? Guys, is it clear or?
Yeah.
Okay. We don't have that much time to go through component lifecycle, but I have go through it a bit, maybe. So this is the difference between React class and the function component. Okay. It's a break. We took a break. Lifecycle methods. What's lifecycle method? They are methods that get called at certain moments in a component life. The component has a life cycle. When it's created, first when it's mounted, we call it mounted, it's mounted in the tree. And then when it's running and updated, it gets new new props, or we update the state. And when we unmount it, we get rid of it, or it's not visible in the screen anymore. So we have these methods, mounting, these lifecycle methods, mounting, updating, and unmounting. Here I will make like a comparison between the lifecycle methods in the class component and function component. In the case on mounting, when component is mounted, for class, we have a function called component did mount. It's named like this. You have to write it like this. And whenever the component is mounted, you can do any logic here. Here we are console log and hello. Same thing with function component. But here we're using hooks, like use effect hooks. And it's a bit different from this one, how it works. This one is a function. We pass first argument is a function, and second argument is an array. It's empty array. When it's empty, it means when the component is mounting, please console log hello. Let's try it very quick. So I will remove these extra ones. And I will create like a onMount function. So React.useEffect, it's a function. I will pass a function to it. Whenever it's mounted, I have to specify here empty array. It means whenever you mount, please console log hello. Let's see the console. What does it mean mounted? Whenever this app component is rendered here inside the index, you see it's rendered. First time it's rendered. So let's try again. I will reload. And I see in the console, hello. So first time this component has rendered, it's mounted once. First time, it's console logging hello. Same thing, we can write same thing with class component by this function, component did mount. I'm not sure if I have like an example here, very quick I can start with. Okay. Maybe this one I can turn very quick to class. Extends, so now you know how to write a class, extend React.component. And we need to have a render. So render function. And inside of it, we are returning. So, and here we are saying component did mount. You see there is like many life cycles one. What we interests us now is like component did mount. Please console log hello. And then here, the console, if I reload again, I should see the console. Hello. Okay. We have these consoles coming from example. We can remove them and reload again. We see the console that we have hello. So first time the component mounted, it make like console log. Why do we need this? Sometimes before the component or when the component mount, we would like to do some logic. Let's say we calculate the width of the screen, or we call an API or whatever. So we put the function here inside the component mount. This is regarding on mounting. Okay. Now, whenever the component is mounted, we have some update functionality. There's a lifecycle method called component.update in the class component. It's called component.update. When a props has changed, let's try to use it here. So here we don't have props, but inside example, it's class. Okay, let's use it. Component.update. We have to specify the previous prop. And let's try to console log previous prop. Okay, I will reload. And in the dev tool, in the example, I will try if I can to change one value here. I'm not sure. You see, I updated these props, and I have a console log here saying that it consoled an object which has the previous props. Before I changed the plane to Airbus, it was Boeing. So it's showing me the old value of the props. You got it? So this function is triggered whenever I update the props. You can control here whatever you want to do. So you will make like a comparison. You will check if previous props is different from current one, do this action. If car has changed, do such action. So same thing, you can do it in functional components. So here we don't have props from app, but we can add ones. So let's say again, we can make props, but in index we have to pass props. Let's say we pass car and we name it first thing, let's say PMV. And here in the dev tool, we see that app has props car. Now we didn't specify to do any action when the props change, but actually we have one action that when the component mount, we are consoling log hello. We will make another use effect, copy it, but here in the empty array, we will specify that whenever the props.car updates, please console log the car is, and it will here I will deconstruct here the car and then here, and yeah, sorry, here it should be plus, yeah, car, sorry, yeah, okay, let's try it. So in the console, first time, because car was undefined, but then we passed a value, BMV, so first it's undefined, and then that's why it's triggered. I can do this, I can make this check. If car exists, it's not undefined, console log it. If car different than undefined, then console log. So now let's try to update that value. So BMV, it will be Citroën, whatever. Once it's updated, why don't have anything? Okay, let me try to remove this. Check. Okay, I'm reloading again the app. Okay, I change it. I have a console log, and because it changed it, it is console log. The car is whatever test I wrote. So now you got the difference. When it's empty, it's on mount. It's triggered when on mounting, and this is on update. Yes, fine. On update. Okay, we have 10 minutes left, so I have to go quick. And we have another lifecycle method, which is when the component is unmounted, so not mounted but destroyed. Okay. So here on unmounting, component will unmount. The lifecycle method component will unmount is invoked immediately before a component is unmounted and destroyed. It's actually here, it's called component will unmount in a class, but in function component, it's what we put in the return function. So here, we don't have a return in use effect, but if we use a return and say console log, this will be triggered whenever the component is unmounted. Unmounted. Okay, that's right. Let's say when count is equal to 2, equal to 2. No, sorry. Because I cannot destroy a component, but maybe when I reload, it will be destroyed. Okay, that's right. So here, let's see the console. It's not accurate in this ID, but whenever, sometimes you can show a component or not show it, like disable it. Whenever you disable it or destroy it, the unmount functionality, the function will be called. So in this case, I mean, it's not accurate, this one. I'm not sure why it's consoling here. But just letting you know, I mean, we will have examples in the future. But just let you know that there's a lifecycle method when triggered when the component is unmounted. Unmounted means it's not in the tree anymore. You see this tree? He won't be here, like underneath. Let's say we have count component, he will be destroyed. Okay, we are done. Click to add subtypes. Okay. Actually, I was thinking about homework, which is converting maybe an app, like small app, from class component to function one. I will share with you the link whenever I put this on Slack. So for now, we don't have homework, but I will share it. And if you have questions, we still have 2 minutes.
Which one do we have to use from this code?
No, I will give you an example. I will give you a sandbox, and then you convert it. So if there's no question, thank you very much. There are more resources that you can read from the documentation, ReactJs documentation. And thank you very much. Yeah, there's actually a survey, like you have to fill it, a teacher survey. Please do this tonight or tomorrow, whatever, soon. And yes, I will share the recording with you. So.